What's going on? It's a friend Tinoco coming at you from the Valentine Evergreen Green Line, which is a former right-of-way for railroad tracks. It actually passes right behind where yours truly live. This is a wonderful day here in Memphis, Tennessee. And today being the 17th of May, 2024. Nice and sunny, about 72 degrees. Wonderful, very cool May day. Feeling like Floyd in this May weather. Ha ha. Anyway, so yeah, I'm here to talk about water. Well, of course, it's fair to mention that I live in Memphis. We certifiably have the best drinking water in the whole United States of America. We really do. It is certifiable. Mind you, of course, there's a lot of things that are unfavorable of Memphis that are also certifiable. Mainly are dangerous drivers. Have the most dangerous driving patterns in Memphis. Ask anybody who's in the auto insurance industry, they will tell you. Okay, so as I was talking about water, and of course my bent on many things of interest is relations between the United States and Mexico. Myself being born here, Memphis, Tennessee, US of A, of parents born in Mexico, and have continuing to have ties and interests in both countries. I am very in favor of good relations and progress separately and together with the United States and Mexico. Unfortunately, other people do not see it that way. They want U.S. to impose itself and to get Mexico to subordinate its interests for the benefit of U.S. interests. We can talk about immigration. Oh, by the way, all this this discussion about mutual interest definitely is framed within the aspects of, let's say, the United States being the victim and Mexico imposing problems upon the United States, or the treaties between the United States and Mexico being unfair. That's a bunch of hogwash. Unbelievable. Anyhow, doesn't matter where you're talking immigration. It doesn't matter if you're talking labor. Doesn't matter if you're talking investments. Doesn't matter if you're talking drug trafficking. And for the same reason, the gun trade does not come up, right? Cartels never comes up with respect. The fact that the United States, we have a drug usage problem in the United States that never ever comes up, right? Well, let's talk about what I mentioned at the outset: water, right? So interesting that our Vice President Kamala Harris has given a recent speech about water as being likely the issue over which the next world war will be fought. If I find it, I'll link it below. But yeah, I think she's speaking with a great deal of truth there. There is a lot of interest in water. There's a lot of interest in the freedom to pollute it or the freedom to use it for drinking. And of course, it's something we hear about in the United States a lot because of fracking, where, obviously the fracking is benefiting the few and harming the many. So, truth be told, the U.S. has plenty of water. Mexico has plenty of water. The problem is that the region that overlaps the border between the United States and Mexico does not have a lot of water there, and they have rivers that straddle or cross the border, right? So the water isn't very evenly distributed in either country by nature. And of course, there's a lot of interest in its consumption along the border and away from the border, but not far from the border. This comes up because legislators in Texas, I think mostly Republican ones, are trying to get the Biden administration to act against Mexico in order to get them to comply with a 1944 treaty about shared usage between U.S. and Mexico with respect to the waters of course, the Rio Grande, and not knowingly the Colorado, but obviously reasonably the Colorado River and the Tijuana River. I don't know of other rivers or river systems that actually are shared interest between the United States and Mexico. But yeah, the Rio Grande, as we know, is a river that originates and pretty much travels the entire length of the state of New Mexico, empties into the border area at El Paso, Texas / Juarez, and basically forms the border. You have the Colorado River, 95% of the length of which is in the United States, originates, its origins are in like Wyoming and kind of snakes through the southwest semi-populated areas and empties into the Sea of Cortez / Gulf of California, south of the tri-border between between Arizona, California, and Baja Norte, right? So if you've ever been to like Mexicali or Yuma, you're actually very close to the Colorado River or Rio Colorado. And of course you have the famous Tijuana River, which originates in Mexico, flows through, I think, a little part of the city of Tijuana, but into San Diego County, south of the main urbanized area of San Diego, California. So, as we probably know, farmers in Texas are experiencing a drought. And the water that is in the Rio Grande, of which they depend, may not be sufficient enough for them to properly irrigate their fields. And or they want Mexico to provide them with probably around 1 million acre feet of water, because Mexico is behind on providing water to the U.S. And there is a number of like about 350,000 acre feet of water on average, basically tracked every 5 years according to this treaty, which Mexico gives the U.S. Let's talk about that for a second, okay? That's a whole lot of water. That's a whole lot of water. Just an acre foot itself is a lot of water. A lot of people can drown in that much water. So 1,000 acre feet per day on average. That's wild. That's absolutely wild. And that's given that most of the Rio Grande, like half of the length of the Rio Grande, is actually in the United States before it gets to El Paso / Juarez, right? So all of that is ostensibly all, Mexico has no access to that. The number of rivers in the United States flow into the Rio Grande. Number of Mexican rivers flow into the Rio Grande, right? Okay. And the Colorado River, forget it. There used to be a nice estuary, kind of like the Louisiana Delta, the Mississippi Delta in Louisiana, in the desert where it empties into the Sea of Cortez. But now that's all a bunch of, that's a salty wasteland, because obviously combination of drought and population growth all over the Southwest, Vegas, agricultural use in California, Utah, Arizona, all these places have consumed the water, and a lot of Los Angeles gets a lot of water diverted from it, from the Colorado River to itself for its purposes. So what's left? There's nothing left. It doesn't flow into Mexico anymore, hardly. So that's kind of wild. And Mexico still is owing the United States 1,000 acre feet per day on average since 1944. So Mexico's falling behind. And so legislators in Texas are trying to do what? They're trying to get the United States to withhold money to Mexico, to withhold foreign aid. The United States doesn't give anything to Mexico. You can look this up. You can look up what the foreign aid is used for any country. The United States gives Mexico for immigration control, which Mexico is indifferent to because Mexicans do not come to the United States anymore and haven't been for a while, with respect to as immigrants. Also, for democracy support, which is a real funny subject because the United States is giving a lot of support to the opposition parties to do some pretty wild, subversive stuff of the current government. So, if the U.S. wants to withhold those funds, go right ahead, right? Whether it's been opposition support or remain in Mexico, I don't think Mexico has much interest in maintaining those programs outside of U.S. funding at all, for sure. But anyway, yeah. So I've read over the treaty, terms of the treaty as far as I can get it online, and there's also some verbiage in there about, well, if there's ever a drought, you can negotiate and catch up later, blah. This is one of those times, right? Okay. First of all, this treaty is BS and needs to be renegotiated because of how development on either side in either country has propped up, and of course, what are the sources of the water? Where does it flow through? What are the tributaries originate from and into it? It doesn't seem to equate to Mexico's obligation to pay to surrender to the United States an average of 1,000 acre feet per day. Right? That's just crazy, and I'm sure that'll be a point of negotiation in the near future. But anyway, as far as I can tell, you Texas Republicans over this and many other issues can go fly a kite, because it just seems that this is just another made-up thing to have a bone to pick diplomatically. So anyway, some of y'all might be a little more hydrologically aware with respect to what the issues are and what the terms are and what the impacts are about this treaty, as this is one of the funniest nitpicky things that have ever come up with respect to the relationship between the United States and Mexico recently. So anyway, we're here to talk about it. It's your boy, friend Tinoco, talking to you from North Memphis again. Bye.